Can women put on tefillin and wear tzitzis?
Let's look first in general at the different mitzvahs that women do and don't do, why they're exempt from certain mitzvahs. The rule of the Torah is that any mitzvah saseh, positive mitzvah shazman grama, which is time connected to time sensitive, a woman is exempt from. Now that would mean blowing shofar. Eating matzah on Pesach is actually different, because eating matzah on Pesach, we say that it's connected with the prohibition against eating chametz. All negative, prohibitive commandments of the Torah, anything the Torah says not to do, is equal for men and women. Positive mitzvahs that are time sensitive, such as saying Shema in the proper time, a woman is exempt. The official reason given is because since a woman has obligations at home, she takes care of the children, she raises a family, etc. That's her main job. So if it's a mitzvah that's not time sensitive, she'll do it when it's not the time for it. But if she would be obligated in all the mitzvahs that are time sensitive, she has her main job that comes first, which is raising her family and taking care of the home. And that's something that only she can do. And therefore, her job is such an important one that it overrides any mitzvahs that are bound by time. We'll get to the deeper reason in a moment. Let's just continue first with the idea that a woman, nevertheless, if she wants to hear the shofar blown on Rosh Hashanah, if she wants to shake the lulav and esrog, she's allowed to do it. To the extent that, according to many opinions, which is generally the opinion followed by the Ashkenazi Jews, it's the opinion of the Ramah, many Sephardi Jews also follow this today, even though it's the Beis Yosef says essentially not. But according to the Ashkenazim, for sure, according to the Ramah, a woman can even make a bracha on a mitzvah that she does, even though she's exempt from it, such as hearing shofar, reading the Megillah. Reading the Megillah on Purim is different, because that's something which is equal for men and women, because when the sages established it, they said women are just as obligated as men are. But hearing the shofar, shaking lulav and esrog, etc., a woman can even make a bracha, to the extent that we actually find a very interesting halacha in Shulchan Aruch, that even though the sages told us that one is not allowed to blow the shofar or even handle the shofar unnecessarily on Rosh Hashanah Yom Tov, but in order to blow shofar for women, in the words of the Shulchan Aruch, lases nachas ruach lenashim, to make the women happy, to make them, to cause them happiness and pleasure, the sages allowed us even to go as far as handling the shofar and blowing it, even just for women. That's the halachas generally by most mitzvahs. Even though they're time bound, a woman is allowed to do them and even to make a bracha. What about talis and tefillin, or tzitzis and tefillin? We do find, apparently, historically, that there were women who did wear tefillin, although there is the general accepted legend that Rashi's daughters wore tefillin. It's not necessarily 100% proven. The Gemara does tell us that Michal, the daughter of Shaul, wore tefillin. And even that, it's questionable whether the sages agreed with what she did or didn't. But it was a difference to the rule rather than part of the rule. Generally, we don't find that women wear talis and tefillin. Why not? And is it all right for them to do it? There's many different reasons given, and there's different questions on the different reasons, so I'll try and focus on the reasons that are more clear. Tefillin is something that, according to halacha, because of the holiness of tefillin, we need to have a guf naki biyoser, an extremely clean body when we wear tefillin. To the extent that had it not been a Torah commandment for us to put on tefillin, we would be told not to put on tefillin because of their extreme holiness. The reason that what gives us the power to put on tefillin is the fact that the Torah commands us to do it. And if the Torah commands us to do it, that means the Torah also gives us the ability to keep ourselves clean and pure during that time. But in general, the holiness of tefillin is very great. Torah tells us we can put them on. Rabbeinu tam tefillin. Halacha tells us to put them on as well, and that's why we can put on Rabbeinu tam tefillin. The tefillin of Ravid and Shimush Rabbah, which their holiness is even more extreme, since we're not bound by halacha to do it. For someone to want to do it, he has to know that he's on a very high level of holiness. Similarly, also with regards to wearing tefillin all day. Even though in the time of the Gemara they would wear tefillin all day, today we don't. And not only we don't, we shouldn't, because we're not on the level of being able to guard ourselves and to keep ourselves on the level of being able to wear these holy tefillin. This is also why a child before bar mitzvah, who does all the mitzvahs and yet tefillin he doesn't do. Because when the Torah didn't command you to do it, you can't do it yet. Because you have no right to accept and to do this holiness, to put on the holy tefillin and maybe defile them by not keeping your body in the proper extreme holiness, unless the Torah tells you to do it. A child before bar mitzvah, we do have, our custom is 2 months, others do a month, others do 3 months, but that's the idea of just chinuch, to educate him to put on tefillin, but not before that. So therefore, it follows that a woman who is not obligated to put on tefillin, if she was to go and put on tefillin and not behave fully in the right way, not keep her body in the extreme holiness and purity that one has to have for the holiness of tefillin, she'd be doing an avera, because she doesn't have the obligation of doing it. And that's why in general it's been accepted that women don't put on tefillin. As a result, also, a woman that will want to put on tefillin, she's actually calling attention to herself. It's called yuhara, haughtiness and pride, saying, I'm so special that I'm able to do it. So if throughout history there were women that put on tefillin, it was only someone on the level of Michal, the daughter of Shaul, who was clearly, she was the queen, she was a princess, she was clearly head and shoulders above everyone else. It's not considered pride for her to say, I'm doing this. That's in the simple halacha of it. Let's look also at tzitzis, and then we can look at a little bit of a deeper meaning as well. Tzitzis, although it's not the same, you don't need this purity and holiness for tzitzis. But with regards to tzitzis, there is no commandment that a man is obligated to wear a garment of 4 corners in order to be able to put on tzitzis. It's not like lulav and esrig that you must find a lulav and esrig in order to shake it. You must go and listen to the shofar. Tzitzis, the mitzvah in the Torah is that if you have a garment of 4 corners, you have to put tzitzis on it. The sages told us that we should still look for a garment of 4 corners in order to put on tzitzis. Now, for a woman to go to the extent of finding, of specifically putting on a garment of 4 corners, which essentially she's exempt from wearing tzitzis on that garment anyway. For her to go and obligate herself to find that garment and then to put tzitzis on it, that's again, that's extra pride, saying, I'm so careful with mitzvahs, I'm going to do this mitzvah also. Whereas a mitzvah of hearing shofar, shaking lulav, on the contrary, she's doing an extra holy thing, another mitzvah of holiness. But here it's doing something which is totally exempt, and therefore, why are you doing this extra thing? And that's why women generally, throughout history, except for the ones that were an exception to the rule, women did not wear tzitzis and tefillin. In fact, there could be all kinds of halachic issues and problems besides the bracha, which can be a question. But in addition to that, there could be all kinds of halachic issues and problems if a woman does decide to put on talis and tefillin, unless she got a total a directive from a rabbi how to do it. Now let's just look very briefly at the deeper idea of it as well. The deeper concept of why a woman is exempt from a mitzvah saseh shazman grama, from certain mitzvahs. There's a very difference between the mission of a man in this world and the mission of a woman in this world. In today's day we have feminists, everyone has to be equal. Well, everyone's not equal, because everyone wasn't created equal. Not because one is better than the other, because each one has their distinct mission. I mean, imagine if women and men all become the same, you won't have children. There won't be any kind of thing in the world. Hashem created men and women separate and different because each one has their mission to complete in this world. By trying to run away and do someone else's mission, that's the most foolish thing that there is, because I'm running away from my mission. Now, why is it one of the just understandable concepts of why women and men are different? What the difference in their mission? The man's soul comes from a place in which he has a need to fight. Ish darkoi lichboish. A man's job is to fight, to conquer. Warriors generally are men. Men conquer. His job is to fight the bad. He has an animal soul which is strong and powerful and pushing, and he has to curb that animal soul. That's what his mission in the world is. So he needs constant reminders like the Yamulke and the tzitzis that remind him about the mitzvahs, to remind him that Hashem is above him. His mitzvahs that he does are mitzvahs like Tefillin, in which he's subjugating his mind and his heart to serve Hashem. He's fighting, he's conquering. The woman's job, her soul is more connected to spirituality, more in tune with spirituality. Her job is just to draw down the spiritual light into the world. Her job is to draw down the spiritual light. That's why one of the main mitzvahs that we know of women is Shabbos candles. Bringing light into the world. It's not fighting darkness, it's bringing light. She doesn't need the reminders that Hashem is on top of her. She doesn't need the reminder of the mitzvahs, because she has it on her own, from her own essence, from the reality of who she is. And that's the mission and the job of a woman in this world, is bringing light. And in fact, that's why in the time of Mashiach it says Nekeva Tesoivev Gever. The woman will be higher than the man, because our avodah now, our main avodah now, is fighting the world, conquering the world. In the time of Mashiach, the avodah will be drawing down light, which that's mostly an avodah which is connected to women. So for a woman to put on tefillin, she's going away and against everything that she stands for, because your thing is not fighting. Why are you fighting? Your thing is not to have reminders and mitzvahs. Why are you having them? You're already more connected to Yemaisa Mashiach, to the light, to drawing down the light. Do your job, your mission. Men should do their job and their mission. Women should do their job and their mission, which is even higher and greater and more connected to the time of Mashiach. And in that way we reveal and bring the light of Mashiach into the world.